maybe you could take us back and tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, if I go
We like it when
uh,
people go
way back, yeah. So when I was 5 years old,
Yeah.
my my grandmother said to my mother, she said, he worries like a little old man.
back.
Hmm.
At 5 years old, I was already full of that fear, insecurity, sadness, anxiety, all that stuff that uh, almost everybody is full of, but with no skills at all on how to handle that. And so, uh, fast forward 10 years of that,
Mm.
and I started drinking. And I was like, it was like that relief. I was like, I don't have to feel like that anymore. I don't have to feel anything anymore. And that just became my coping mechanism. And that's the real thing here. I mean, like drinking, drugs, we talk about all these harmful addictions and everything. They're really, and yes, there's a physical addiction and uh, damage that it does to our bodies physically, but they're really distractions, really, is what it comes down to, from feeling, from coping with life in healthy ways, from finding our path and getting confused and overwhelmed. So we look to distractions like drinking and drugs are always associated with addictions, but there's now there's our iPhones, there's Starbucks, there's eating at McDonald's, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A every day. All these things are distractions from getting where we want to go, and eventually end up being harmful. And so I found out that I can escape to the mountains and I can live that way and not have to feel,
Hmm.
not have to grow or process, what's going on up here. And what I learned was the drinking isn't the problem. It's what I was using to cope with the real problem, which is my thinking. And that's why I wrote my book called Funky Wisdom.
Mm.
Uh, it was about my funky brain, you know, and how I cope with things if I'm not uh, growing emotionally. Because it's not about not drinking. It's about growing up and looking the world in the eye and being a responsible adult, taking care of my responsibilities, growing emotionally, taking care of my health, my physical health, because that's just as important. Because of, we say we have all these problems, but we don't have any real problems until we have health problems.
Mm.
Now you have a problem because it's like there's always the finance and the romance. Those are the big problems that everybody has. But there's these other things. But if you're healthy, you can always make more money. You can always get a new relationship or fix your broken relationship. You have options, and so it's a duty to take care of our bodies, which I didn't realize for a long time. But anyway, so living up in the mountains, I was a ski racer, ski bum. Eventually, I was just a bum for a long time, and so I became a chef to support that lifestyle, and I got to ski during the day and party at night, and that's what led to my wild lifestyle. And then eventually I stopped skiing and I moved to suburbia and I was just falling apart. And then I was in over 20 drunken car accidents. I drove my car into a house. I rolled my truck many times. Uh, Only back then up in rural Vermont, I would roll my truck over and we would roll it back over. And then I would drive it home and wake up in the morning with bruises and dry blood all over my face. And I'd be like, I wonder what happened last night. Maybe I got in a fight or something and not even remember driving into a house. So, I say these things to let you know, like, who you see is not who I once was.
Hmm.
And anything is truly possible. When I stopped drinking, it'd be 19 years ago next week. Uh, I was 240 pounds. I'm like 170 now. And I don't say it to show off. I say it to that anything's possible.
Mm.
Anything. If you have the right mindset and the right direction and the desire to live and grow and be happy. And, I always say, ask questions.
Yeah. I'm really connecting with the idea of thinking. Because I often tell my story in that I was a really nervous kid. It would be diagnosed now maybe with like social anxiety or something. I don't know. I just thought every kid was like that. And when I drank for the first time, that all went away. I found
Yeah.
liquid courage. I could talk to girls. And I too escaped into the escaped into that world of just the efforts, I don't care. I don't want to face that emotional pain, what I thought was emotional pain. I was more fear-based than anything. And now I've been in recovery since 1987, and it's really been a journey of self-awareness and self-discovery. And hopefully, and Sandy might disagree, but I've improved emotionally, that I've become more emotionally intelligent. And that's what recovery has been to me, is to be self-aware and become more emotionally intelligent. Do you agree that I'm more emotionally intelligent?
I do. I think you're feeling a lot of emotions lately.
Yeah.
You've expanded the emoticons you're well acquainted with.
Yeah.
So what was a turning point for you, Dennis?
Yeah, great question. And to piggyback on what you just said, it's that emotional sobriety that they talk about, and it's really the goal. And it's like I can still slide back into that old behavior without, if I'm not aware of that. But the turning point for me was, I left the mountains, I left that chef profession. I knew I had to get out of restaurants because it was, the truth is we drank too much, and if I was into basket weaving, I would have been drunk like I was, but the restaurants certainly didn't help, the restaurants. So I like to say all that stuff. We can't blame our professions or anything for our situation. I'm responsible for everything in my life. But I left that. I moved into suburbia, and then I worked for Cisco Food Service, and I was a sales guy there. And that was like my first adult job, and that was like 23 years ago, 1999. And it's really interesting timing, this show, and I'll tell you in just a second. But so I was really proud of that job, having that and like being an adult. And I was like, I work in a big, successful business. And I did that for like 3 years. And then on November 15th, 2002, I got in my last really big car accident. And I was coming down from the mountains up in Summit County, Breckenridge and Vail up in there. And I rolled my truck 3 times doing like 75, coming down I-70 up in the Rocky Mountains. And there was a big, huge highway sign that actually stopped me from rolling into the Clear Creek and dying. And blood coming out of my head. And I ran up to the road and waved somebody. Like, I should not be here, But anyway, in order to go back to work, I had to sign a return to work agreement, say I wouldn't drink anymore. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll sign whatever you want. But of course, I kept drinking. I stopped drinking for, I think, 3 days. I was like, oh my God, I almost died. That's the worst thing that ever happened in my life. And 3 days later, I was like, I need to get drunk, And so they found out I was drinking on March 27th, which was just a few days ago. I got fired from that job. And my boss was Dan Pernice. And he called me up to come in. I had to bring all my files and everything, and I was crying. And he goes, Dennis, can you stop drinking? And I was like, I don't think I can. I was like, I don't know what to do. And so anyway, they had to fire me according to their law rules and stuff. And they gave me a bunch of back commissions, back pay. It was like 10 grand or whatever it was. And I went on a bender, just trying to kill myself with drugs and alcohol. And on April 8th, which is a week from today, I woke up with all my clothes on. I was up for like 5 days, snorting cocaine and drinking and whatever. And I had a girlfriend at the time, which was amazing because I was really gross and messed up. But she came in and saw me there. And, I peed my pants. I was a complete mess. And she's like, well, this isn't going to work. And I just started crying. And I said, I can't stop. I was physically really dying. And so she got online and got me into a rehab treatment place out there in Colorado. And I was there 2 days later. Mm-hmm. So that's that story right there. But the timing's impeccable because March 27th, which was 4 days ago, that's the day I got fired. And every year I call my boss, who ended up being the vice president of Cisco Food Service, which is a $30 billion a year company. And I say, thank you for firing me 19 years ago.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great.
So you went away to rehab, and what did you learn?
Well, it was a great intro to what's really going on. I remember sitting in, they had small group. There was like 50 of us in the whole place, but then they had the small groups where there were like 5 or 6 people. And I remember sitting there and they were talking all these big words like resentment and fear and all these other words that we hear, these buzzwords we hear in recovery all the time. And I just started crying. I was like, I need to stop drinking. I was like, I can't fucking stop drinking. And later to come back to realize, and this is where the emotional growth comes in, the emotional intelligence, awareness, whatever you want to call it, wisdom. That's why I was drinking. I had resentments, fears, secrets, things that eat me up on the inside that I don't know how to process. I don't know how to be honest. I don't know how to be open and willing to do things differently to get different results. And so I drink. And, for 4 hours or 6 hours or until I pass out, I don't have to do those things.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I learned in rehab. But that was just actually, I didn't learn all of that. I just learned the very basics. It was like, all right, I drink because of these other things. And it's like, really? All right. And then it was the 12 steps, and they made a lot of sense. I latched on to people that were sincere and had a real desire to grow. And half of those died like shortly after we got out of there. There was this one guy who was singing songs, sobriety, sobriety, and all that stuff, and he was drunk the day after, the 31st day. And so I don't know what the answer is. I should say that I don't know the reason why some of us get it and some of us don't. I don't know if it's a degree of pain you go through. I don't know what the answers are, but I have learned that we have to live in gratitude and appreciate every day. And when we do, there's really no room for those harmful behaviors or beliefs, those limiting beliefs, those things that keep us sick and unhappy and unhealthy, because you just lost both of your parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, we're not that immortal boy, that immortal kid anymore.
It's true.
Our days are numbered. It could be tomorrow, it could be in hopefully in 40, 50 years, but each day is a gift. Why am I here after all those accidents? And I don't exaggerate anything. I am telling the truth. And you hear about, 5-year-old kids getting cancer, or a family getting wiped out by a drunk driver crossing the street, or, wars going on in other countries where, you're living your life and you get bombed. I mean, like, why are we here?
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff's happening. And the answer is to help. It's to give, to be of service. And when you understand that and move from that place in the world, all the money you want, all the relationships, all the good like outside crap that we are always searching after, it just kind of follows us around, when we move that way. So that's what I've learned.
So what does your recovery look like today? Like, what have you woven together? We often talk about it in terms of a tapestry, but what's it look like?
It's not very complicated. No exaggerations or anything. It's like I wake up. I've designed my life around the way I like to live, because for so many years I was like, well, I can't go live on the beach. I couldn't live in the mountains in one of those $10 million houses, and I don't live in a $10 million house. But I can't do those things. That's for other people. But that's bullshit. If I remove those limiting behaviors that are keeping me stuck and sick, I can do anything I want, and I design my life to be by the beach. And so I wake up in the morning, I do some of little work stuff that I need to do for my businesses. I have other business things that I do, and I do some exercising, and then I drink a bunch of water, and then I ride my bike to the beach, And then I sit there and I meditate and I walk on the beach and I realize just how amazing life really is. And I move immediately into gratitude, because we were talking about before the show, you said you were in sales and I can have 99 great sales and I obsess over the two that I didn't get. And that's human behavior. My life is amazing. Everything in my life is perfect except for two things. And when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about are those two things. The two things that are less than perfect. So as soon as I get to the beach and I drink lots of water, I do my responsibilities that I didn't used to do when I was drunk. I ride my bike to the beach, I get centered and focused, and I focus on the 98 things that are perfect. And I move from that spot. And those other two things, we realize that they're not as important as they were, or they work out. It's amazing.